This video is for the men's. If you are a man, identify as a man. I want you to pay attention because what we're going to talk about are two of the ways I believe that good men lose good women. I also want to say this, that I recognize that good women also push good men away. However, this video is specifically centered around men. So don't be trying to come for me in the comments. Okay, sorry, I had to go change so we could really get into it. So how does a good man lose a good woman? First, I want to say, when I'm talking about a good man, I'm talking about men who don't play games, who don't avoid commitment, those that are emotionally ready, financially secure, self-aware, doing their inner work, and really truly desire partnership, marriage, and family. When I'm talking about a good woman, a woman also being emotionally available, a woman who wants to give love, who wants to nurture, who wants to support a man's purpose, who wants to multiply his assets, his joy, multiply his peace. Yes, Jesus. And women who want to really build with someone, not just benefit from someone. So I wanted to make that distinction before we got into it. So when does a good man lose a good woman? I think it's when he is living in the gap. What is the gap? The gap is the space between intentionality and action and between acknowledgement and accountability. If you're living in between those, you're living in the gap. And that's where problems start to arise. So you mean well, but you don't move well. You talk about what you want, but you don't show up. You see your patterns, but you don't change them. That's the gap. I'm centering this specific message around men intentionally because while both men and women can, absolutely fall short, men are often viewed as the leaders of relationships. You all really set the tone. You influence stability and the flow and the connection from the very beginning. And when leadership lives in the gap, everything else underneath that is uncertain. And women, especially good women, do not feel safe in uncertainty because acknowledgement without action just doesn't build trust. It actually builds confusion, and confusion makes her question whether she can rest in what you're actually building. Now, there are going to be some people that say, well, if a man is truly ready, he won't live in the gap. Yeah, but a readiness doesn't erase old habits. It actually just reveals where your next level of growth is. And for a lot of good men, the gap is the work. And this is especially relevant and super critical for the Black and brown community because many of us just grew up watching a struggle love. We never really truly saw love thrive. We saw a lot of strength without softness, a lot of endurance without ease. So because of that, a lot of good Black and brown men are still truly learning how to lead from emotional steadiness and not just intention. Meaning not just wanting to love well, but being consistent enough for love to actually feel safe. And so when I talk about the gap, I'm talking about men who mean well, but haven't yet learned to move with emotional consistency. So what that means is you know how to show up when things are good, but not always how to stay steady when love requires accountability, vulnerability, or when you run into a tough spot that's going to require some repair within the relationship. And that gap we've been talking about between what a man feels and what he actually follows through on is often where a good woman starts to lose her faith. And when I say faith, I mean her faith in the relationship and her faith in you being able to actually lead the relationship. Because a woman's softness, especially a Black and brown woman's softness, her peace, her feminine energy can only exist when she feels secure, not when she has to keep guessing. So it's not that we're looking for perfection. We need consistency. We need to feel that your intention isn't just felt, but that it's actually followed through. That is the bridge that keeps a good woman close and keeps a good man from actually losing her. So if you're a good man and you're wondering why good women keep walking away, I want you to take a moment to ask yourself if you're living in the gap. And if you're a good woman and you've met a man and he's checking almost every box, but something is keeping you from fully connecting, ask yourself, is it because he's living in the gap? Because no matter how good a man may be, if he stays stuck between intention and action, you'll feel the disconnect before you can explain it. So, gentlemen, what we do know is that good intentions do not build safety. Follow through and consistency do. So, that love and that softness and that feminine energy that you've been seeking from that woman is not going to happen if you're living in the gap. So, get out of the gap. Move from intention to action, acknowledging to accountability, and I promise you, you'll keep that good woman.